David from Belfast here. So really what I want to get to is Mr. Hovind, I think, runs, the Creation Science Evangelism, something like that there.
Yes.
He uses the word science in the title. I'd like to know, scientifically, what theories has he proposed and how has he tested them empirically?
That's true, because if it's a belief, how can it be science, as you stated earlier?
Exactly.
I would point out two things first before I answer the question. I'm not using tax dollars to teach my thing, so
I'm going to get on to something in a wee second that'll explain this a bit better. So don't worry about tax dollars. Let me know some theories you've proposed and how you've backed them up with empirical evidence that you've actually collected, studied in a lab, and then published in a journal, I guess, with the rest of us peer-reviewed, published scientists.
You've got to know that's a lousy argument for anything, peer review.
No, I just want to know any theories that you've got and how you've backed them up empirically, that's all.
Okay. How many peer-reviewed articles are there in Iraq supporting anything other than Islam?
No. Hold on one second. I want to know what theories you have and how you've tested them empirically.
Okay.
Regardless of whether they're peer-reviewed, we'll forget peer-reviewed.
Right? I think we got to look at the peer review, because who's the peer? Okay. I have a theory that if we dig in the ground, we will find fossils of billions of dead things that are buried in twisted, contorted positions sometimes from a worldwide flood. I predict we'll find trillions of fish fossils that drowned in the flood with their gills extended, their fins extended. They died totally terrified of what's going on around them. And sure enough, we dig in the ground, and that's what we find. We find evidence of rapid...
Okay, so that's one theory. All right, that's fair enough. I can live with that there.
Okay.
Now, the beauty of science, as far as I understand it, is in the application. Because, and I'm a geneticist, and I'm a published geneticist, and one of the things I've studied is, for example, mixtures of salmon stocks. Now, our understanding of evolutionary theory has allowed us to empirically estimate salmon stocks. Now, that's an actual application. What applications do you actually see emerging from young Earth creation science?
I think you'll find just about every single branch of science was begun by creationists.
No. I want to know what applications you're going to get out of your study of young Earth creation. What applications do you see emerging in the future?
Okay. I think we'll discover that just about everything we look at in nature will have a design, and there'll be evidence of a designer. We're looking at a painting and trying to discover something about the painter from the painting. Yeah,
but where's the application? I actually don't see how we can apply that in any way.
We can
I actually want an actual application from that. Not just study, not just academia. I want application from science.
I'm trying to
get something that scientists are actually quite good at.
Sure. I think we'll find in your field of salmon that there's a variety of salmon out there, from the coho to Atlantic salmon, but they're always salmon. I think a practical application is there are varieties of salmon, but they're limited to the same kind of creature. They're still a fish, they're still a salmon, they're still recognizable as a salmon, and that the variations, though they're pretty bizarre sometimes, are limited. So a practical application of believing in creation is the very ability to quantify or classify these animals by the same kind, which is what the whole classification system is about, trying to put things together.
You're talking about taxonomy. I'm talking about application. And I'll give you some good examples of applications from biosciences, from genetics, from evolution. This ranges from everything from bioinformatics. I don't know if you're up to speed on your kind of emergent biosciences. Bioinformatics is a particularly emergent field. And we're looking at things like the transcriptome, the proteome. We're looking at how they interact with each other, how genes, and we're not talking about one, we're talking about 50,000 studied in a single go, how they work in cancers, how we can use this to fix those problems. We're looking at interferonics, using dicer molecules to interfere with viruses, to interfere with cancers. We're looking at determining what's going to be an invasive species using evolutionary theory, and we've actually been very successful in doing that. We're looking at conservation, that's a big one. Now, you mentioned salmon. I would actually disagree with you. There is a lot of variation in salmon. In fact,
we're going too fast here now.
I've actually studied them.
I know, but
I've got the gels in my lab. I know there's a lot of variation there.
Okay.
A lot of variation, and you can't, we're talking variation that cannot arise in 6,000 years, because for you to have that variation, you're talking about mutation rates that are so fast that the organism wouldn't be able to keep up with it. There'd be a genetic load so high these organisms would all die out. Other things that are coming out of biosciences, out of evolution and out of genetics, are things like genetic engineering, which is very popular at the moment, germline therapy, which is actually going to be a big thing fairly soon. I see thousands and thousands of applications from the academic study of evolution.
Okay. All right. So
and they're actually helping us today. And the beauty of it is it makes our economy so much better, which actually allows us to have lots of tax dollars to pay for these weird theories that we have, because they're funding themselves. Do you not see how that's kind of working for us? We can actually fund ourselves from what we're doing because it's so successful at what it does.
Right.
Okay. In your professional field of salmon, you say there's a lot of varieties, and I would agree. Do you know of any examples?
Well, actually, I'll argue with it. I'm not in the field of salmon. I've studied salmon, but I'm a geneticist, and in particular, I'm a molecular geneticist who uses evolution on an almost daily basis. And I find it very hard to not rationalize the thousands and thousands of papers I have in any other way but under. And Dobzhansky said it himself, and he's one of the greatest biologists ever to live, that nothing in biology makes sense except in the light of evolution. And I think the proving ground for it is in the fact that we actually have applications out the other end which are funding and making our society better. How are you going to counter that with your creation science? Because I don't actually see any actual proper applications that are going to help us to become a better race. Or to
it sounds to me like you don't expect an answer either. You talk about 20 different subjects.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
I mean, you talk about 20 different subjects as well. I'm throwing one at you. I want an
guest on the program.
It's going to be germline therapy.
Right. All right, let's slow down. Let's word this in a manner quickly, because we're running out of time here, Gene Boy. What exactly are you asking of Hovind? You asked him how can he...
I just want an application, man, that's all.
Okay.
I just want an actual practical application that I can go out tomorrow and apply, make a bit of money, and fund creation.
Okay, so let me make another attempt to try to rephrase it. Okay, Ken, I think what he's simply asking is, how can knowing that organisms are designed help make this world a better place?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I think when a doctor cuts open somebody to do an appendectomy, they would expect to find the appendix in roughly the same place on everybody they cut open. Evidence that the designer put it in the same place, like when a mechanic opens the hood and the car distributor on a Chevy, in the old cars at the back, he expects to find, the distributor. He finds a lot of similarities.
But that's evidence that they've got shared theories creating those devices. That's all that is. It doesn't mean a shared designer. It just means a shared theory.
Okay, you're demonstrating my point here by interrupting me constantly. You don't want an answer. At least
I would like an answer, because I think if you come up with one, you're going to have a pretty hot thing for the next century, the next 2 centuries, because you'll not have to worry about us or you paying tax dollars to fund the teaching of creation or the teaching of evolution. I'm sorry about that. You'll actually be able to fund the teaching of creation science yourself, because if you have this hot application, and bioinformatics is a pretty good one, you'll be able to self-fund yourself, so it won't matter. You could start up universities, and you can have a whole city dedicated to creation, funded from just one application. So why don't you go and do it?
I think there's a huge segment of society that is self-funded, like the private school system, which, 12 or 14% of the population now have drawn their kids out of the public school, mostly because of this very issue. So here these people are paying taxes for your things
about the minority here,
and paying for their school system.
That's the minority, though.
14% of people who are willing to pay taxes for both schools.
Fairly low number. It's not 94%, it's 14%.
It's 14 roughly. When you consider the economics here, I mean, here's families raising
but we're not
children.
talking about 94. We're talking about 14. That's only 14%. We could ship those people off to a different country and bring in immigrants from anywhere around the world who would be 100 times more grateful for the economy and the freedom in which to live.
Okay.
Let's not worry. But let's get back to the application. I want to know if there's a hot application in creation science that's going to allow you to self-fund yourself in the future.
Our ministry is self-funded. People want to hear about the creation.
It's about creation science, full stop. Because evolution is not about funding oneself. It's about funding all of the academics around us. We're a very supportive, nurturing group, and we look after each other. We have to, there's no other way to survive in the world unless you look after each other. It's not about looking after yourself, Kent. It's about looking after other people.
Okay. The same argument can be made for Islam. They're certainly self-funded. You have people donating money to blow each other up over there,
With Islam? Not everyone in Islam blows people up.
Their religion teaches to have to hate other people who are not Muslims.
Don't blow people up. I've got lots of Christian friends that do, because I live in Northern Ireland.
I've been to Northern Ireland. I felt safe the whole time I was there. You guys are blowing each other up at a regular pace over there.
Well, this is it, and they're Christians. So where's the Islam thing going?
I guess you better define Christian. I don't think that's Christian.
Well, they claim they're Christians.
Well,
I mean, the only person you can know is thyself. So they claim they're Christians, and I accept it because they know themselves. I don't know them. I'm just taking their word for it.
Okay.
So where's the Islam thing coming?